In the early 2000s, Kenya was desperate for change. Under decades under President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, many Kenyans believed the country was finally reached a turning point. Corruption scandal had damaged the economy. Public trust was collapsing, and ordinary citizens were tired. Then came the 2002 general election. A new coalition rose to power promising transparency, accountability, and a complete war against corruption. Leading that movement was Mwai Kibaki. His victory brought massive excitement across the country. For many Kenyans, Kibaki represented hope, a fresh beginning, a clean government, a chance to rebuild Kenya. People celebrated in the streets. Investors became optimistic. International donors returned with support. The new administration promised something bolder, to end corruption once and for all. But behind closed doors, one of Kenya's most shocking scandals was already beginning to grow. A scandal involving secret contracts, questionable companies, billions of shillings, and allegations that the powerful individuals inside government were benefiting from fake security deals. This was the Anglo Leasing scandal.
We will release the information to Kenyans. We will manage the thirst for information that Kenyans have so that we do not compromise the process.
And years later, many Kenyans still believed the full truth was never revealed. At first, very few people understood what Anglo Leasing actually was. The name sounded like an ordinary foreign company, professional, international, and legitimate. But investigators later discovered something disturbing. Anglo Leasing and Finance Limited was allegedly linked to a shadow business network connected to questionable government procurement deals. The company became associated with series of suspicious contracts awarded by the Kenyan government. Many of these deals were connected to national security projects, and that made things even more dangerous. Because once the government labels something as national security, questions become difficult. Documents became secret, officials became silent, and accountability disappears. The contract involved projects like passport systems, forensic laboratories, naval ships, immigration security system, and police communication equipments. On paper, these projects sounded important, necessary even, but investigators later alleged that many contracts were grossly overpriced, irregularly awarded, or linked to companies that barely existed. Some companies reportedly had no physical offices, no employees, and no proven experience, yet they received contracts worth billions. And the most shocking part, some projects were allegedly paid for without being fully delivered. At first, the public knew almost nothing, but inside government, tensions were already growing. Then entered one of the key figures in the story, John Githongo. John Githongo was appointed as permanent secretary for governance and ethics under President Kibaki. His role was simple in theory: fight corruption inside government. He was respected internationally and viewed as a serious anti-corruption reformer. But as he started examining procurement deals, he allegedly discovered something deeply troubling. According to the later reports and recordings, Githongo believed senior government officials were connected to suspicious contracts. This created a dangerous situation, because now the anti-corruption officer was investigating people within the same government that had promised reformed. The pressure intensified. Meetings became tense. Warnings allegedly started coming from powerful individuals. Political alliances became complicated. Githongo later claimed he feared for his safety, and then suddenly, he disappeared from public view.
It was a wish list. There's a lot of cut and paste, to be very honest. I think the process has begun now of Kenyanizing it. It's going to be painful. It will be bloody, so there will be more violence. It won't be the kind of violence that perhaps people expect, but that is a challenge. The challenge is not so much ticking all the boxes in a technical form as if we're implementing a World Bank project.
In 2005, John Githongo fled Kenya and went into self-imposed exile in the United Kingdom. The news shocked the country. Why would the government anti-corruption official flee the country? What had he discovered? Rumors exploded everywhere. Then came the leaks. Documents started emerging. Secret recordings surfaced. Investigative reports spread rapidly. Then the scandal became impossible to ignore. Kenya was now facing an international embarrassment. Foreign governments and donors began asking serious questions. How could a government elected on anti-corruption promises become linked to one of the country's biggest scandals? The details became more explosive with every revelation. Investigators alleged that fake companies had received massive government contracts. Some contracts reportedly bypassed proper procurement procedures. Others appeared heavily inflated. For example, equipment that could cost a certain amount was allegedly being purchased at a dramatically exaggerated prices. Billions of taxpayers' money were potentially at risk. Public anger grew quickly. Many Kenyans felt betrayed. This was supposed to be the clean government, the reform government, the transparent government. Instead, the country was once again drowning in corruption allegations. Opposition politicians attacked the administration aggressively. Civil society groups demanded investigations. Newspapers published headlines after headlines. Radio talk show exploded with debates. And ordinary Kenyans asked one painful question. Had anything really changed after the Moi era? The scandal damaged Kenya's international image. Development partners became cautious. Donors started withholding support. Foreign confidence weakened. For a government trying to present Kenya as a stable and reform-oriented, this was devastating. Meanwhile, inside politics, the scandal created fear and mistrust. Some officials denied wrongdoing completely. Others blamed political enemies. Some claimed the contracts were necessary for national security. And because many deals involved security system, certain information remained classified. That secrecy created even more suspicion. People started believing there was a massive network protecting powerful individuals. The Anglo Leasing scandal slowly transformed from a corruption story into a symbol of how deeply corruption had rooted itself inside the Kenyan system. Years passed, investigation continued, parliamentary committees were formed, reports were written, but accountability moved slowly, very slowly. For many citizens, the legal process became frustrating. Some cases collapsed, others dragged on endlessly. Certain suspects denied involvement, and political blame games continued. Meanwhile, ordinary Kenyans continue struggling with unemployment, poverty, poor healthcare, expensive living costs, and this made the scandal feel even more painful. Because while citizens struggled to survive, billions were allegedly disappearing through questionable deals. The scandal also exposed a deeper problem in many African governments: procurement corruption. One of the easiest ways to steal public money is through government contracts. Inflate prices, create fake companies, hide behind secrecy, move money quietly. By the time investigations begin, the money is often gone. And according to critics, that is exactly what made Anglo Leasing so dangerous. It revealed how vulnerable government system could become when transparency disappears. Years later, attempts were made to recover some of the money linked to the scandal. Court battles emerged both locally and internationally. At times, Kenya even faced pressure to pay certain contracts despite disputes surrounding them. This created national outrage. Many people could not understand how Kenya could still be connected financially to contracts widely viewed as suspicious. The scandal became part of Kenya's political vocabulary. Even today, when corruption scandals emerge, many older Kenyans still say, "This is another Anglo Leasing." That tells you how deeply the scandal impacted the national psyche. And perhaps the saddest part of the story is that many questions remain unanswered. Who truly benefited? How much money was actually lost? Who protected the system? Would the scandal have been stopped earlier? To this day, opinions remain divided. Some believe the full truth was buried. Others believe politics interfered with justice. And some argue that only small players were exposed while bigger figures escaped accountability. But regardless of perspective, one thing is undeniable. The Anglo Leasing scandal changed Kenya forever. It shattered public trust. It embarrassed the government internationally. And it became one of the biggest symbols of corruption in Kenyan history. For many citizens, the scandal was a painful lesson that fighting corruption is far more difficult than making promises during campaigns. Because corruption is not just about money. It's about power, protection, fear, influence, and system built to avoid accountability. The story of Anglo Leasing is not just the story of missing billions. It is the story of a nation struggling between hope and disappointment. A country trying to move forward while constantly fighting the shadows inside its own institutions. And even now, the echoes of Anglo Leasing still remains in Kenyan politics. And maybe the most disturbing part of the Anglo Leasing story is that even after all investigations, all the headlines, all the public outrage, many Kenyans still believe the real masterminds were never fully exposed. Some files disappeared, some witnesses went silent, Some cases slowly faded away into silence, and somewhere within the shadows of power, the full truth may still be buried. Because in Kenya, scandals rarely truly die. They simply become quieter, but history remembers, and so do the people. The Anglo Leasing scandal was more than just a stolen money. It was a warning about what happens when power operates in darkness, when accountability disappears, and when corruption becomes stronger than the institution meant to stop it. But perhaps the biggest question still remains unanswered. Will something like Anglo Leasing happen again today? Or is it already happening somewhere behind closed doors? Right now? Only time will tell. This has been the story of Anglo Leasing scandal. A story of power, secrets, billions, and a nation left searching for answers. If you enjoy this deep dive into Kenya's hidden history, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and turn on the notification bell. It has been yours truly and truly, Jayuga, and life as it is Diaries continues.
So kabla hiyo, what up people? Yo.